Okay, good morning. Can you be so kind, please, and close the door? Thank you very much, just to avoid any noise coming from the outside. Good morning again. Thank you very much for joining my session. This is going to be the first frightening session I'm going to deliver during the TTP week here in Munich. To be honest, when I offered this topic, this thema to the organization committee, I had something a little bit different on my mind. But during last 3 months, maybe, I've met many customers and potential customers and partners, and that was that frightening for me that I decided to start with some details I see as the most important things around the authentication, because especially here in Europe, we see so many organizations and hospitals and government institutions, and they all are like, oh, NIS2, we need to follow the regulations, and we need to implement some improvements. And what they do first, they start a selection process of a token. That's why I say this is not agenda of my session. This is your agenda, or it should be your agenda, or agenda of your customers, partners, whoever. So first of all, do not start with tokens or MFA. That is crazy. It's like, I got a call and, hey, Václav, we already bought a big box of YubiKeys. We spent €1 million. It's very nice, very shiny. Can you work with that? I said, what? Because there are two sides, and we will talk about the side in between IDP and SP, because any factor is between IDP and the user. So please do not start with tokens. It really makes no sense. Don't worry, you will have your fun in the future. Then you can choose whatever you like, but do not start with that. First of all, you need to investigate your SPs. That's the critical point. If you do not know about your SPs, you cannot implement a successful authentication project. Okay? That's the first step. Then you can investigate your existing IDPs and user sources. You have them. Your peer-to-peer 30 years old Microsoft network is in fact IDP. Not the best one you can have, but it's IDP. Your redirectory, it's IDP and user source, okay? So you need to choose optimal strategy. We'll see on further slides why it is so important. Yeah? It's like the definition, what is the difference in between enterprise and small company? In a small company, whatever you can click overnight. You maybe remember, if you are old like me, you remember BrainShare conferences, and there several times there was a contest, 2 teams, Microsoft team, Novell team, task, how fast can you do that? Of course, Novell team always won, because the effectivity of tools was far better, and eDirectory was far faster, and still is far faster than Active Directory, but that was about the efforts you need to put in. And you also need to have a B strategy for anything which does not fit into the optimal strategy. Yeah, so 2 strategies. Yeah. And once you are done with some SPs, that means your SPs can talk to your IDPs or to your IDP, and you have run a proof of concept project. By the way, proof of concept project, that's a big fun also, especially if you test something which is named Microsoft Kerberos. You know, there is Kerberos and Microsoft Kerberos. And typical situation is that you deliver a very nice proof of concept project with 20 users and it works like charm. Then you try to use it with 1,000 users. And you discover that you need to buy 10 more Microsoft Kerberos servers. And even with 10 more, you cannot reach the response times you had with 20 users with one Kerberos server. Very funny technology. And then you can start with second factor. Second factor can be your token, the lovely shiny thing you want to play with. But still, do not start with tokens. And you also need to ask the users. You must be in a very friendly relation with your users, because otherwise they can destroy anything you do. Anything. I will tell you nice stories from the United States. It's far, far away, so no worries. I'm not going to talk about you. That's from the United States. So that's about their daily practice, the number of authentications they must do during the day or during the shift. You know, are they migrating, yes or no? Are they working with own computer, the dedicated computer, or do they share, etc.? And please, this is again about tokens. Have you ever heard name Gemalto? Gemalto. They produce chips. You can buy a big roll of 10,000 chips. 10,000 is a basic number. They sell 10,000 for very nice price. Suppliers of tokens, I don't know, maybe in 90% of cases, they buy chips from Gemalto, they glue it in plastic, and they triple the price. So do not hesitate to push your vendor. I'll tell them I know what is behind and I want a fair price. And this is important for you because critical parameter of any authentication project is price, reusability, and fluctuation. If your organization is a hospital and 30% of employees every year leave and you hire new ones, then this can be really killing for you, price-wise. If you ask your boss, hey boss, I need extra money every year, that's why in the description of my session is how to keep your job. Because the boss can say, oh, we can save some money for new chips by firing you out. I'm not kidding, you know. Okay, so let's check if we are tuned on the same frequency, okay? Just very fast. I know you are experts. So what SP stands for? That's a service provider. Anything you use is a service provider. Word is your service provider, and you know that Word is using, what protocol is Word using to check if your license is valid? No, Summer. I bring you a t-shirt later. I left them in a car because I've been moving other things. Okay, so anything is SP. Yeah? It can be inside or outside your perimeter. It's still SP. Most of them need authorization. And why I say authorization? Because authentication is just special case of authorization. You authenticate to get authorized to use some functions. This way of thinking is very important for the whole thing. So a typical SP needs to know who is the user. Yeah. Then is the user authorized to use me? I mean, I'm SP. Yeah. Or is the user authorized to make some action? Yeah. So that's the way how SP works. What is important, typical organization, regardless the size, has several mission critical SPs, at least one. In small companies, the mission critical SP is accounting. If they need to issue some invoices and process payments and etc. So several mission critical, but hundreds of SPs in total. Hundreds. If you start with SP, a typical IT department is surprised. So, oh, we have that many SPs. And this number is critical because if you want to do something with 5 SPs, it's easy. I'm involved in project. The project is running since May 2023. And the number of discovered SPs is 800. If you want to do something with 800 SPs, you have a lot of work to do. Yes, sir.
Isn't the third one, because the first one is normally authentication.
Yeah.
The second one is authorization. The third one is normally category.
Can be.
It's basically
Yeah.
Who you?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to do it?
Of
Václav,
course,
can you repeat the
session
question,
is affected
please?
by my poor English. Sorry, but thank you. So you need to be as efficient as possible. Sometimes you see IT department and what I can do in 10 minutes, they do 2 days. They think, oh, I protect my job. It's not smart to show that I can do it fast. Have you seen this behavior before? Maybe that can happen. But with the real number of SPs, you need to be efficient. So when you start with SPs, which is the point 1 in your agenda, you need to discover everything your users use. Do not ask the IT department only because they are typically not aware about everything, what is used within the organization, and what is really critical for the mission. It's like, oh, we were not happy with the stuff you provide us with, so we switched to Slack. We need it. We cannot sell our goods without it. Yeah? So you need to ask them. Then, when you get the list, you need to categorize what is really critical, what is sensitive, and what is not that important. Okay? Because when we focus on security, this is the most important. It's like, this can be a hospital information system with all the patient's data. Of course, it is critical. And this can be the app provided by a cafeteria, and you can choose your meals. That is not that important. You need information. You do not have it. That's how it is. So you need to ask vendors or authors, because some of those SPs are brewed in-house. And if you are lucky enough, the author is still working for the company, the author is still alive, and still, let's say, smart-minded, so you can ask questions and you can get answers. This can be really a pain. Do you remember? Oh, sorry.
Well, one of the things about security,
Yeah,
isn't so much preventing people you don't want to have access. It's enabling the people who need to have access.
correct. I agree. Still one share, please. Okay. Do you remember? But because when I start I'm not an expert on computers. It's just my hobby, you know. My expertise is electricity, construction of big electrical machines. That is why I feel such a strong pain, especially when I'm in Germany. Maybe you remember WordZap. WordZap. What is that? Help? It comes from IBM. Oh, nobody knows WordZap? You never use WordZap?
Oh, what's up?
WordZap. WORDZAP. There's nothing with Word. That's a utility which allows you to change the binary code if you have no access to the source code, or you cannot compile it and build it. So whenever you run in problems, you use WordZap, you modify the binary code, and you got a new feature. That is so typical for internal authors, okay? It's not that easy like, oh, no problem, we do some changes, we compile it, we build it, we use it. No. And when you think about your SPs, do not miss to add some strange things like firewalls, web content managers, proxies, cloud storage, document managers, etc. Do not think about things which look like a program. Everything has a program internally, okay? So you can prepare a table. If you like Excel, you can use Excel for it, okay? This is just an example. This is not complete, but you can prepare Excel sheet, and it can be SP by SP, 1, 2, 3, 100, 200, 300, and then we go to basement, and you know, record everything you know about that. How the user provisioning works, how access provisioning works, you know, what authentication protocols it supports, etc., etc. Yeah. Is it a client server? Is it a client application server? Yeah. You need to know everything, especially does it support some standard? And my recommendation it is not only to ask the vendor. The best is to ask somebody else who is ahead of you. Because sometimes vendors support a protocol, but they are not happy that you want to use it. So they are silent. So you need this, because if you are lucky enough and you sort this table by the category, like classified, you remember? And then you might see, oh, everywhere is SAML. Okay, SAML is the way I can go without any development, any, big changes or whatever. Yeah. So if you are lucky enough, one column of that group has yes for each SP. It's like, I already mentioned that Word, Excel, this PowerPoint, they all support SAML, so why not? Once you have your SP list, and of course, maybe you should not wait until you be done with the SP, because that is never-ending story. You can start working on SP, and a little bit later on, you can start investigate your IDPs. Okay, so IDP again, what is that? Identity provider. That's a service which can provide SPs with the identity of the user. What is important? You do not need to find one IDP which does everything. There is nothing like that. Especially, is here somebody from Sweden? No, okay, then example from Sweden can work nice. one customer in Sweden, they must use 4 different IDPs, and that is very nice reason behind, because they need to use their own IDP, they need to use bank IDP, they need to use government IDP, and that is because if government pays some licenses, it's always corruption behind that, yeah. So they say, oh, you can use this stuff, but you have to use this IDP provided by that nice, very lovely company. Okay, so the problem with more than one IDP is how to choose the right one. That's why the nice solution, they are not our competitors, they do not compete AF, they do just nice stuff, and the name is juice, like orange juice, lemon juice, so juice. You know juice? No. Somebody else? Do you know juice? No. They add extra features to your IDPs, like a automated selection which IDP can be used for the SP the user wants to use. It is not that easy. It sounds easy. Trust me, it is not that easy. And they also provide, I think it's Python, but that's not important, nice scripts to add s.r.o. Later on, we will talk about s.r.o, about the importance of s.r.o. So you can use your own IDP sitting on site, or you can use IDPs somewhere outside, and you can combine them. Yeah? And what is also important, we as TDP, we provide our IDP, which is KeyShieldSSO. Again, it is not a competition for AF. We work together with AF, if you want. Yeah, it's SSO. That's why we use it in the name of the product. Okay, and people quite often ask me, "Hey, Václav, are you integrated with something?" And once again, I say, "Sorry, no. They need to integrate with us. We cannot integrate with them." That's very important thing. Because you always need able SP, which can talk to your IDP using the same language. SAML, JSON Web Tokens, OpenID, OpenAuth, yeah, something. So, and please do not start with tokens. Even you are here at the end of point 2 of the agenda, it's still too early to start with tokens. I got a very nice picture. No, no, too early. And now, why we talk about authentication? I already mentioned NIS2. So usually, customers want to implement I would say, a little bit better authentication, because in most of the cases, they implement a little bit better authentication. Not 2-factor. We can say most of the projects ends with 1.5 factors authentication. So the Holy Grail is 2-factor authentication. That means that the user authenticates twice. So there is something sitting in the middle or in your server room or somewhere, and the user authenticates, and then the user authenticates again, twice. 2-factor, twice. Okay? So if you get an offer from a company and they say, oh, we've got a solution for you, what is that? Oh, certificates. Where is the solution? Oh, we use Microsoft Kerberos. Say, yeah, I can buy Microsoft Kerberos from Microsoft and I'm done with that. No, but this is very secure because user can protect the chip with PIN. So that's 2-factor. No. Especially because Kerberos or anything else cannot check if the user really protects the chip with PIN. Yeah? Single factor. Okay, so Two-factor generally is considered as a more secure way how to authenticate, but it depends. Yeah? And in the title, in the short description of my session, there was also a question. Are you looking for a paper with a stamp, or are you looking for real security? If you want the paper, I'm not the right partner for you. If you want better security, then we can do something. So it is a little bit like the famous peer-to-peer Microsoft network. You know, you have many points peer-to-peer. Some of them are cheaper. Those are called workstations. And some of them are way more expensive. Same technology called servers. You know how it works. So the question is why we need complex passwords. Before I start my session, there was Edmund Weber talking with somebody, and he said, now we have 20 characters long passwords. Does it make any sense? No. No. That's just because they do the basic mistake. They synchronize the password from a domain or e-directory or other directory to workstations. That is the problem. So they try to protect some database in that way that the long password takes more time to crack. Yes, correct. Correct. But far much better is something which was invented by Novell, I think in 2002. You know that in e-directory you have 3 passwords. Who know the names of these attributes? Simple password and the, yes. You see, oh, he is the best. So simple password is for simple systems like Windows. So you authenticate against e-directory, and then your client can read your simple password to authenticate you to the workstation. Very nice. Not working for users who are taking care of their houses, and they say, I'm working hard. Yes, with grass mower. So, but okay, that's the problem. So the why we need two-factor, mostly because we do not handle single-factor properly. Multi-factor authentication. People sometimes say, oh, it's better. But that just means that you have a wide selection of factors and you can set different chains. Yeah, you have a chain like the user has to provide this first and then that afterwards. Yeah. So, you know, AF has, I don't know, 36, 38 factors, methods you can use. And that makes sense because what you can use on a workstation is typically something you cannot use on your mobile phone and vice versa. And so many devices, especially, for example, in hospitals, we have so many customers, hospitals, and they have special devices. It looks like a computer, but it's a ultrasonic device. And the vendor says, yes, we use Windows, but you are not allowed to make it a part of your P2P network because they are afraid about the shit called policies being delivered to their precious device. Okay, so, and when we use 2 authentications, it can be against different IDPs. You can go with 1 authentication against ADP A and the other against ADP B, which is very smart, and I tell you why in a while. Chained IDPs can share, and of course they share user's identity, but do not share passwords. do not synchronize passwords. I know this is a little bit against IDM. IDM is a great product. I would recommend you to use it, except one thing. Do not synchronize passwords or any other information which is like that. You know, when I see crazy people and they have local domain, and there is some add-on on it called Active Directory, and they synchronize password to Microsoft Cloud, that I do not recommend to do it, okay? So, because that puts everything in a risk, and you can run in serious problems. When I help partners and customers and whoever, I also talk to vendors on behalf of my customer or partner. It sounds really crazy, but trust me, many vendors, they even do not know what is authentication. They never need it. You know, they just develop something in Delphi, then they run it on Windows workstation. It works, okay, fine. Hey, what is authentication? So another thing, many SPs cannot work with SSO because they need the password to authenticate to something behind. So for them, SSO is something they cannot do. Not easy. Huh? A typical example, client, the full-fat Windows client talking directly to SQL, pretty common scenario, yeah. But without application server, no authentication, yeah. And you also need to investigate how do they do that, because of ODBC driver, which is a part of Windows. Are you familiar with ODBC driver? Excellent. It looks like, oh, authentication. But then, if you disassemble the code, are you disassembling the software you use? I know it is not really legal, but that can help you, right? So you find, finally, that they use something called connection string. So if you dig out this string, it's really a string from the code, you can authenticate to the SQL server and read anything, modify anything with your own stuff. So if you got a fat client directly against SQL, my recommendation, ask vendor, like, please, Mr. Vendor, can you be so kind and give us a written confirmation that you do not use one connection string for everything? That's like last year, I had my sessions about clouds. You remember it? It was very funny in the United States that week. And you know, I always said you should ask your provider. And people were like, oh, should I ask Microsoft? Is that allowed? Sure, you should. So, and everything, you should always consult knowledge base because it's there. I remember a very nice session from BrainShare, and that was, I don't know, 2003. It was a very nice guy. He arrived on the stage and said, I'm going to deliver a session about Microsoft Active Directory, but I know almost nothing about that. And people were like, why are you here? You know, we want to, you know, get some news about. Don't worry, guys. I just went to Microsoft knowledge base and I searched it and I asked, show me all articles which contain you cannot an Active Directory. I found 250 articles containing you cannot. And Those are about Active Directory, and I use those articles to prepare my session. It was one of the best sessions I ever seen, and BrainShare, I was very smart. Oh, it's so always ask the knowledge base. So people tell me things like, I'm going to authenticate to my Windows two-factor. I say, oh, really? Is there something new? I search the knowledge base, and Microsoft says Windows is single factor. Oh, how you do that? So that is important. When I mentioned my session at TTP Americas, that was really funny because past 4 days, every day I had a session and I told people, do not trust clouds. They are operated by the same people you are. And Friday morning, CrowdStrike happened. And I was the only guy smiling Friday morning. Many people even did not arrive because during the night they tried to fix the network. And on Monday, I visited one TTP member, and I asked them if they got hit by CrowdStrike. I said, yes, but we are lucky, only 400 boxes. I said, oh, really? Only 400? Yes, we did not install CrowdStrike on more boxes because it's too expensive. So do not hesitate to push your vendor. Is it Microsoft? What's up? Push them, ask them, squeeze them. If they will not take care of your needs, somebody else will. I'm pretty sure. Ask your wife or your husband. And always ask similar organizations. You are so lucky, you are TTP members. So I see so many negative emails going through the TTP community. Be positive. Share your positive experience, and TTP members will be very happy about you. So when we talk about factors, still not time to choose your token, but you can start thinking. So it even can be a device. If you authenticate on a computer, which is connected to specific port in a room with locked door, do you really need second factor if you can check the user comes from this computer? That's a question. Your own device, mobile phones mostly, yeah. Connection to LAN, this is authentication, VPN, authentication, Wi-Fi, authentication. By the way, this idea, unfortunately, is not mine. Sometimes visit Google. I have some friends working for Google, especially in Zurich. And they told me, this is really boring, Václav. We need to authenticate to VPN, which is crazy, two-factor. We are in, and we have to do it again. That is four-factor authentication. Not necessary. In most of the cases, your VPN or your Wi-Fi is that strong, the authentication. I know Fortinet is not now on top after this January, but they will do better, probably, if they survive. So once this is done, you can use it. If you want to know how, attend my session tomorrow. And of course, you can use a token. But what is the best token? Price-wise, usability-wise, effectivity-wise. That is the token they use to open the door. That is the token they need to get the meal. Because they don't care about very expensive tokens. They care about the thing which lets them return back if they went to a restroom. With real tokens, I have seen so many funny situations, like a manager. Here in Germany, they have managers and managerines. So both of these kinds, is leaving for a vacation. So the manager, oh, this is my microphone, sorry, gives the token to secretary. He says, don't worry, here is my token. If you get any, situation that you will need to do it on behalf of me, just give me a call. I will tell you yes or no, and you do it. There's a real story. Yeah. So again, the best token is the token which you need to open the gate when you drive in your luxury car. Yes, sir.
I was once at Extreme Networks.
And I know them.
Where basically they said you could go out through the door of the gate. The network would then switch off the phone in your office, lock your door, and turn the lights out. And so what happens if someone else goes over there?
Okay. Yeah. Let's go a little bit faster because time is running. How it works with IDPs, and that's very important. I have very nice example ready for you. So, for example, in your sheet, you find, oh, SAML is the protocol I can use, or JSON Web Token and whatever. Yeah. By the way, Microsoft fall in love with SAML. Yeah. So let's investigate SAML, how it can work with two IDPs. That's very important. Yeah. And you can really use your own IDP, and you can use some special service outside provided by somebody, because some things they simply do better. Yeah, when mobile phone anywhere is involved, or they have some special device or whatever, they can do it better for you. Do not synchronize the information to them. Just use the service, okay? So following slides show how it can work from the user's point of view. So first of all, you have some SP. It's a browser, but you know that if you start your Word, it is using the built-in browser core to do SAML. That's the same like KeyShieldSSO. Everybody does it this way. Huh? On mobile phones, you even cannot develop your own browser. You can develop your own Gesicht, UI, sorry, but the core comes from the operating system. Apple, for example, will not let you distribute anything which has own browser core, okay? So doesn't matter. Does it look like a Firefox? Still, Apple core is in it. Yeah? So you visit SP, you need to authenticate, you click. You do not need it. You don't need to do it because redirection can be automated. But in my example, let's say this is Moodle, and you want to go in, okay? So you get redirected to ADPA, and in my example, ADPA can be somewhere outside, but the ADPA does not see any cookie with valid token, so the user is not known yet. So what IDPA does, it redirects you to IDPB, because that's a scenario. I do not know the user. I do not ask the user who you are, because that's not my job. I redirect the user to IDPB, which can be on site. But again, the user is not now even for IDPB. But the IDPB can authenticate the user. And let's say your first factor is username and password. So you, the user, authenticate successfully. So now IDPB knows who you are. Of course, you do not need to see such messages or whatever, but I did just to make it easier to understand, to follow. So IDPB knows who you are. So IDPB redirects you back to IDPA, but now in the header is so-called assertion. That signed XML document called assertion because SAML stands for Security Assertion Markup Language. In other words, a language for exchanging secured or signed assertions. So in the header of the request, when you get redirect, your browser gets redirect back to ADPA is assertion. And assertion says, it's Václav. Yeah. So you get back. So IDPA now knows who you are, but IDPA is configured in that way that it adds the second factor authentication. Okay? So now, because it knows I'm Václav, it can go through profiles. Oh, this is the, I don't know, phone number for SMS or iMessage or whatever app. You know, Google provides nice stuff and tons of others provide nice stuff. So this you can do with AAF. AAF does it too. On your phone, you have an app. Yes or no. Banks do that, okay? So you confirm on your mobile phone. You do not need to do anything here because the server behind been waiting for the confirmation. And now IDPA knows I'm Václav, two-factor. So it redirects me back to SP, and that SP can be my bank, and I'm in, and I can work. In many cases, with the first authentication, they do not ask the user for the password. They just tell the user, give me your email address, and they match with the user source. Is it known email address? Yes, that's enough. Go to the second factor. That's what they do. If you fly, you maybe know that, I don't know, SkyTeam does it now in that way that the IDPA sends you email or SMS with a code. You enter the code and you are in. Yeah? So is it secure enough? Yes. So in reality, why not? Where it is, oops, sorry. Your first factor is here. Yeah, in many implementations today, they do not ask for password because you know email address, which is used for some profile.
Doesn't that make the email address not an email address for Chrome?
It depends, you know. With Delta, for example, you have a username, and they check when you define your profile. They check that it must not be the same like your email address. So it depends. We do not have time to talk about real details. You simply know matching name. And you see in my example, I do not use email address.
Typically, you can access separate service by Shibboleth, which is Amazon, which was the WAIF service, which is where are you from?
Yeah.
And you had to choose.
Yeah.
And select where they had to go
to
check your information.
Yeah. Yes. Why not? So finally, we have two IDP, one IDP and the other IDP, and you can talk directly to them. IDPB is not hidden behind IDPA. You can talk to it. So if your hospital information system would ask IDPA because it makes sense, this is definitely mission critical classified. IDPA response says it's Václav, and trust level is two-factor. This is very important because you do not have this forever. I will talk. We still have 30 slides, and then I'll be done with the session. If you have something easy on site, why not to talk to IDPB? It is much easier. Who is the user? Václav, but trust level is one factor. Do you remember EMEA? Noel EMEA? Oh, Noel, they did so lovely stuff. So, okay, so with trust level one factor, you can choose your meal. Why not? I said that trust level is something you do not have forever. That is one problem I have with Windows, because I have virtualized Windows here, and I do not remember when I authenticated to that Windows last time, maybe 3 weeks ago. Windows is okay with that. And all this time, Windows remember my password. When I try to connect something, they try to use it. That is why I work on Mac. So IDPA is configured in that way that the authentication it provides is our second factor. Whatever it is, you can have whatever, some factor. Yeah? But can it be valid forever? Absolutely no. But there is a problem, okay? So recommendation, if you consult RFC, so I told you consult knowledge base, now I tell you consult RFCs. Some of them are really, useful. Most of them are useful. So the recommendation is that it can be valid for 6 hours max. My recommendation is shorter. Okay, but okay, 6 hours max. People in my country, for example, say, wait, Václav, that's not enough because we run 8 hours shifts. And I say, oh, you do not follow the law? Of course we follow the law. Why you ask us? So because in the law, it's very clearly written that anybody, any employee must have at least 15 minutes break after no longer than 6 hours of work. This is pretty compliant. So, okay, on the IDP side, it can be easy. No, not really easy. Secure AnyBox, for example, does it in a very smart way. Many IDPs, they don't care. If you read documentation for Microsoft Office 365, that is really funny. No worry, if you want some fun, just read it. And for example, they say, if you want to log out, that's easy. Close your browser and start it again. What? Okay, so IDP knows expired, but how to inform SPs? How to inform SPs? This authentication is no longer valid. And problem of my example is before that it looks like when I ask IDPA, I get a fresh authentication. But it can be in that, situation that I ask IDPA and IDPA immediately respond, it's Václav trust level 2 factor, and it's 5 hours old. It's still okay if my configuration says 6 hours, but within 1 hour, I need to let the SP know this is not valid anymore. And imagine you would authenticate 2-factor to Windows. It's not possible, but let's have some fun. So, and you ping Windows, the user authentication is no longer valid. Done. You'll be working on Windows, just black screen. So it is very difficult to handle this properly. And that's why you need not only SSO, but also s.r.o. s.r.o stands for single logout. And trust me, SSO is a piece of cake in comparison with s.r.o. for many reasons. That's why I mentioned that Juice is our competitor. We are far much better what we do. seriously, I can show you proof. But we know they provide kind of script, so you hit one SP, and that SP, using the script, hit another SP, and another SP, and another SP, and another SP, and sharing the information, log out the user. Of course, this can work, but not always. So far much better is to have IDP, which is, pinging all SPs, like, oh, I have a list of SPs, and log out. Yeah. The problem is that the JUICE solution needs the browser. But what the user does typically? Open the gate with the token and go out. So, with SSO, you need to know who is in front of the tube. But SLO must be distributed, and SPs must understand it. So I'm sure if you ask your vendors, they probably tell you, yes, we support some SSO protocols. Ask them how they support SLO. And their reaction can be, what? What is that? Say again. So, and it's technically absolutely not possible without application server. Of course, in your project, you can decide, that's not nice, but okay, at this stage, we will not do it. What is the other way? Instruction for users. Please, dear user, you are guilty if you would not do this. And then it's not your problem. Huh? That's how it works. So now we can choose some token, because we know what we are going to use, what is compatible with our SPs, and then we can ask our IDP vendor or service provider, IDP service provider, what are you compatible with? What you recommend us to use? And there are other things you should think about. So, okay, we've been talking about Microsoft. That was enough. We've been talking about solutions using certificates and Kerberos. And there is even a funny company in Germany, and they do it in a different way. They have also pin protected cards, but they do not keep certificates and keys on the card, on the chip. They keep a very long, very ugly password. You put the card in the reader, you type in your PIN, it reads the password, and it authenticates you to Windows. Done. We did this solution back in 2006. That time it was quite okay. Not today. But when you ask them what is the advantage of their solution, you always should ask the potential vendor, why should I buy your solution? And they say, it's much faster than with certificates. Yes, it is much faster. That's it. So you should focus on some other things. And the most critical, network printers. Those are really dangerous devices in your network. Yeah. If you do not protect your printers, somebody can upload a code and run it. And because there is no printing server or printing solution provided by Microsoft, a typical network printer can go anywhere because of scans and prints and direct prints from workstations. It's a really frightening nightmare. So you need to protect the device, and you need to protect the user. So the best is if the user can use the same token to start printing the job. So I send something to the printer, I walk, okay, I'm here alone, no problems. I use my token and it start printing. So it should not be like I have a bunch of tokens in my pocket and which one is it? Ah, this one. Pink. That's crazy. Similar locking and unlocking of workstations. Locking is not important. Unlocking is important. If the user has to authenticate again two-factor to unlock, what users will do? They will not lock. And you are in problems again. So you need to find a solution which provides fast unlocking. This is not a marketing session, but KeyShieldSSO can unlock in 0.2 seconds. 0.2 seconds. That is acceptable. So, and some IT departments, they really understand network management as a war in between IT and the rest of the users in the company. I can tell you a very nice story. It comes from United States, from very, very, very big healthcare company. They are everywhere, and they are that rich that they have money on walls, on floor, ceilings. Yeah? And there is a doctor, and he's a surgeon. He can operate heart, top guy. Unfortunately, he hates IT department. So they did a mistake, and that's a mistake. Trust me, they implement regular password changes. That made him very angry. So he said, okay, I'm entering passwords with one hand because the other hand is dedicated for my big cup of Coke or whatever. So he always find a new password which fits in the rules, yeah, which is not the password he used before. That's okay. But then he shares the new password in the Facebook group to let others know what they can set as their next password. And this group is growing and growing and growing. When I heard this story, they told me that there is less than 300 people working for the company. Now it might be 3,000, I don't know. IT department several times visit the boss office asking the boss to fire out this guy. Guess what happened? The boss just checked the accounting statements. Oh, this guy is earning 100 million bucks a year for us. No, guys, if you want, I can fire out you, but not him. So you need to handle your users in a proper way, and you need to, you might help them by enforcing something, but you should not enforce them. Yeah. So, and last story, in one hospital, there are two crazy guys, and they work with policies. You know what is policy? It's yet another hack from Microsoft. It's a bunch of stupid XML files. You store XML file and change the behavior of workstation or server, okay? Some of them you can set and deliver in that way that the workstation is authenticated as that stupid object, which is, class user and class computer, both classes, and it reads the policies. But there are also policies which are there, but not manageable this way in a standard way. They play with everything, and once they present me what they did, they found a set of policies that the users cannot store passwords in any browser they use. I was like, uh-huh. And they were like, "Oh, it's nice, isn't it?" I say, "Yeah, can you tell me what they use instead?" And guess what was the reaction? We don't know. You should. You should. Yeah. So that is what you said exactly, Richard, that it should be in a positive way, not to say what they cannot do. You should say what they can do. So I'm available till Friday, and it's free of charge till Friday. Call me on Monday. I provide you with my price list. So I'll be happy to talk about details, but I felt that it's important to talk, to be a little bit above the real details, to talk about the way how authentication projects should be implemented and what you should be aware of, what you should know before you start. And that's the agenda, SPs, IDPs. And at the end, tokens. If you start with tokens and you even buy them and you spend a lot of money on them, then you can run in a problem. So I do not fight any vendor of tokens. I like tokens, I like readers, I will use it, but not each token will work for you. So that's why you should investigate, why you should choose your token at the end, before you start the implementation, not at the beginning. Even it's a nice fun. You can even, think like, oh, we prefer black tokens because that fits to different types of shirts. If you have it here, maybe. So now we still have a couple of minutes, luckily, because of extended lunch. So if you do not agree with me, tell me. If you want to share your experience with others, please do. If you want to ask anything, I'm here to answer. So nothing? Yes, sir? It's first of all, I think it's probably not you who should decide, do we need better authentication for the, yeah. Yeah. I did integration with SAP R3 before. Their implementation of SAML is the most crazy implementation I ever seen. They support everything. Germans, yeah. Is the yeah. So you can use this and you can do it at the IDP site. Yeah. So if you configure your SAP to talk to IDPA, in my case, you cannot, pass through IDPA without second factor authentication. The configuration of this is really easy or mid easy. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. You can do it this way.
Isn't the point of Shibboleth is that it comes back to you? Okay. So as IDP that's authenticating them. So what's on your IDP authenticating is the assertions of their name.
I can make it up this somehow.
The bit where you authenticate them, is done by you. So
maybe I don't.
the final assertion, yes or no.
Yeah.
Then in your sheet, you need extra column responsibility or responsible person. That's how it works. What is nice with SAP, they support s.r.o. There is an entry point, and you can post or get at that point, and you can log out. Yeah. So that SP is very nice, very nice. You not really easy, but very nice. Yeah. Most of SPs are not that nice. Yeah? So, but with properly configured IDP and with s.r.o, you can do the job. Yeah, it's always, you know, a decision, because you probably do not know with most of DSPs, you know, is it really critical in terms of GDPR, in terms of NIS2 or whatever? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're still doing it.
But that was not a product from Novell. They bought it, SecureLogin.
Again, there was also an open source project called Vulture. It's some of the same, but basically that one was set up so the users didn't actually know their passwords to the end system. You sent them on Vulture, and Vulture then logged them on.
Yeah, but the real problem is somewhere else, to be honest, Richard, because SecureLogin was an extension for standard client. Yeah. So if you authenticate from a Windows workstation using Novell client, or today Open client for Windows, that works. But the problem is that there are 9 or so different protocols you can use to talk to the server and get access to the files. So the question is, why? What is the goal? Why you need better authentication? Is it really about the workstations, or is it about the documents and file data we keep on the server? I do another session about encryption of the data, because that's the only protection which works. If you want to secure your files, your documents, your anything, then ACLs is not the right solution for you. Encryption works far much better. So I do an extra session on this. You will find me in agenda very easy. Nobody else has the same name like me here, so it's very easy. But yeah, it's like, because people say, oh, I can fix my Windows, we authenticate two-factor. You still can authenticate to your Active Directory or domain using single factor. There is no way how you can stop this. Yeah, but you still, have devices, and the real problem is authentications are not human beings. The real problem are computers. I did a extra session on this last summer, TTP Americas, because when you have computers authenticating to your whatever, that's a game changer. Huh? Have you ever seen a computer app with a mobile phone in the pocket or with a fingertip? No, no. And the number of authentication is usually that high that nobody can, yes. No. So then that's, let's say, a reason why you might use really maybe strange factor on first sight, but it can really work, like the location in the network. Yeah. Does it come from server room? Then it's okay. Does it come from outside the server room? That is not okay. Yeah. That's for what we do, for example.
You guarantee it's just a wire in a port.
Yes, but you can, that's what people quite often do the first. You visit somebody and they say, don't worry, we already spent crazy money on new switches, new firewalls, new routers. Oh, nice. What do you use for your passwords? Excel. Or I ask them, do you use KeePass? No, we are not that far. We still use Notepad. So, a good bad guy will always hit your weak point. always. So when you hire new guy, be very careful. When anything depends on your IT guys, be very careful. They pay mortgage, they have families, they play games, they maybe have some, yeah, they have special needs when they visit porn. So that's why it makes sense to have something which is administrator proof. That makes your administrators happy, to be honest. It's like when you enter a post office and there is a very nice, very visible information. All safes are protected with time block. If you kill everybody here, it still will open within 2 hours. After 2 hours, sorry. Lunch, extended lunch. I'm here. Do not hesitate to stop me, talk to me, tell me that you are not happy with my sessions. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks.